Welcome back to How It Ended, the show where we perform autopsies on fallen studios of the games industry. Today we're dissecting the remains of Visceral Games, the minds responsible for unleashing one of the most gruesome and unforgettable horror experiences. Of course, I'm talking about Dead Space. Now, some of the insights of this video were informed by Jason Schreier's Press Reset, Ruin and Recovery in the Games Industry, as well as a variety of other sources which we linked in the video description. Now, let's take a trip through time where we not only learn how it all started, but before it was Visceral, it was EA Redwood Shores, just one of the many internal EA studios quietly grinding away on sports games and licensed tie-ins from Tiger Woods' PGA Tour to Godfather shit, even Lord of the Rings. Solid, but not exactly groundbreaking. As Jason Schreier describes it in his book, Press Reset, Ruin and Recovery in the Video Games Industry, there were less a team of artists and more a team of mercenaries ready to take out any job that would generate the most revenue for EA at the time. This also kind of attributed to their lack of identity. They were just another EA studio, but that was about to change. Enter Glenn Schofield, a fine art grad with an MBA, aka a rare breed who can concept art and balance a P&L sheet. Schofield had already done time at Crystal Dynamics working on Gex and Legacy of Kain. When he took over Redwood Shores, he pitched something bold, a sci-fi horror game. EA at first wasn't biting. Original IP wasn't their vibe at the time. Then Resident Evil 4 happened, redefined the genre, sold gangbusters, and suddenly Schofield's pitch had a pulse. What came next was Dead Space, a brutal, immersive, and very disturbing horror game. Inspired by Event Horizon, stories by Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke. It put players in the suit of Isaac Clarke, a name no doubt paying homage to the game's inspirations. Clarke was a silent engineer navigating a mining ship that had gone full-blood ritual. It wasn't just scary, it was innovative. During this development period, Michael Condrey would join and serve as a senior development director and eventually co-executive producer. He was instrumental in the production and management of Dead Space. The game featured no HUD, your health was on your spine. Ammo and UI, holographic and in-world. And the combat, strategic dismemberment. Not just shoot for the head, but more like shoot for the limbs and pray to God it stays dead. It was slick, terrifying, a critical success, and people loved it. Yet, despite its impact, EA, while acknowledging its quality, felt like its sales didn't quite live up to their lofty expectations. Still, Dead Space undoubtedly put EA Redwood Shores on the map, leading to their bold rebrand in 2009 as Visceral Games, a name chosen to exemplify the studio's commitment to delivering, well, visceral games.
He said it!
Riding high, the studio expanded. Montreal, Melbourne, multiple teams, more risk.
More money, more problems.
Their next major project would be Dante's Inferno. Basically, God of War in hell with a dash of classic literature and a suspicious amount of exposed flesh. It was loud, it was violent, it was ambitious, but didn't quite set the world on fire. Critics were mixed, and a planned sequel quietly disappeared. Over the years, Dante's Inferno would garner cult status among fans, especially since the God of War has largely moved away from the hack and slash format. Then came Dead Space 2, which for many is considered the pinnacle of the franchise. Isaac finally spoke, the combat was tighter, the environments were more diverse, the set pieces were incredible, the pacing relentless, and the horror still chilling.
Oh my God! Oh gosh! I think it'll make a person become insane.
This game is an atrocity.
It's revolting. It's violent. It's everything you love in a game. And your mom's gonna hate it.
Why would they even make something like this?
Dead Space 2, rated M for mature.
This was also the first time in a franchise where fans would play with each other. Dead Space 2 also introduced a 4v4 online versus mode called Outbreak, pitting human security officers against different types of necromorphs in objective-based combat. A bit like an early Dead by Daylight of sorts. Anyways, I'm sure EA hoped that this new game mode would keep people playing long after the campaign ended. This was also when live service was slowly creeping into the gaming sphere. Nowadays, live service games are a dime a dozen. Critics praised it, fans loved it, but EA looked at all that and said, cool, can it sell like Call of Duty?
What?
Despite its success, Dead Space 2 reportedly cost $6 million to make and didn't meet EA's sales expectations. The math wasn't mathing for them, and suddenly, the future of the franchise was in jeopardy. So for Dead Space 3, the pressure was on. EA wanted broader appeal. Translation, add co-op, add crafting, add microtransactions, add less horror. Visceral pushed back, but compromises were made. The horror was diluted, the tone shifted, and while the game still had its fans and solid reviews, longtime Dead Space devotees felt something had changed. Not only that, it's so below EA's expectations again.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
I don't know what exactly EA was looking for. But shortly after this release, the franchise was put on ice. Profits weren't significantly increasing with each installment, and that simply just didn't sit well with them. And just like that, Dead Space was done. The energy at Visceral shifted. Schofield and Condrey left to form Sledgehammer Games under Activision. There, they'd helped to make Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and later Advanced Warfare. Back at Visceral, the next assignment was Army of Two: The Devil's Cartel, a hand-me-down game from Visceral Montreal, which, oh, by the way, got shut down by EA in 2013, just before Army of Two would be released. Yeah, The Devil's Cartel was forgettable at best. At worst, it was a critical flop. Critics panned it. Sales were limp, but Visceral had something else up their sleeves. Battlefield Hardline, a cop drama in a franchise known for war zones. Hardline traded military combat for Miami shootouts and high-speed car chases, and a whole lot of questionable badge behavior. If you ever thought, what if Michael Mann directed a video game that was Law & Order meets Battlefield 4, this would probably be it. Problems arose, however, when a lot of Visceral staff didn't want to work on a multiplayer first-person shooter. They wanted to work on action games, something the studio was known for. And Battlefield just wasn't it. This growing creative clash led to a significant exodus of staff throughout 2013 into later stages of Hardline's development. The game had tasers, destructible environments, and multiplayer modes with names like Heist, Blood Money, and Hotwire. It was very divisive. Some praised the fresh direction and voice acting, others thought the campaign was clunky and the stealth was underwhelming, and the story, let's just say they ain't winning no Emmys. But then, hope returned in a galaxy far, far away. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to Project Jamaica. I thought I'd mention that in case you couldn't tell that I'm actually Jamaican. And from what I've read in the concept, I would have lost my just to get my hands on this game. Also, there weren't any actual footage, so I'm going to be using Assassin's Creed Black Flag as a stand-in. Visceral had been quietly working on this brand new IP, which would have been an open-world pirate game, very much similar to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. High seas exploration, swashbuckling adventures, treasure hunts, the works. But then, Disney happened. In 2013, Disney bought Lucasfilm and as part of their Scorched Earth strategy, shut down LucasArts. EA swooped in soon after with a multi-year exclusive deal to develop Star Wars games. That torpedoed Jamaica faster than any cannonball ever could. But instead of scrapping everything, EA saw potential in the bones of Jamaica and refitted the concept into a Star Wars project called Yuma. Yuma kept some of the same structure, a crew-based open-world experience, but now in a world of lightsabers, aliens, and TIE fighters. It eventually evolved into Project Ragtag, which would be led by none other than Uncharted's Amy Hennig. Under Hennig's leadership, Ragtag shifted from open-world to linear and cinematic, more in line with what Visceral was best at. Set between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, the game would follow a group of space scoundrels pulling off a high-stakes heist against the Empire. Pretty much Ocean's 11 in space, with just a hint of Firefly to boot. Sounds like a slam dunk, right? But from the start, things weren't smooth. Visceral was forced to use the Frostbite engine. Yes, the Frostbite engine, which was basically built for Battlefield and not well suited for a third-person action game. Think about it this way, EA was trying to make fetch happen.
That is so fetch. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Because of the tools found in Frostbite, the dev time ballooned, and EA reportedly kept relocating resources away from the project. Then came the dreaded term live service. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just about over live service. I'm ready for it to die. In a world where GTA Online, Destiny, and Fortnite were raking in billions with a B, a tight single-player story game looked less appealing to execs at EA. By the time Star Wars Battlefield launched in 2015 and made bank, EA was seeing dollar signs, and Ragtag didn't fit the new multiplayer live service mold. Resources were pulled, team members were laid off, and Ragtag became the kid EA forgot at soccer practice. Visceral kept going, building out a vertical slice demo for E3 2016, RIP E3. They were trying to show what the game could become, and for a moment, it worked. EA gave them the green light to continue, but it didn't last. On October 17, 2017, EA officially shut down Visceral Games, and Jamaica/Yuma/Ragtag became a ghost of games we'd never get to play. They said they were pivoting the designs to be more accessible and appealing to broader player motivations. Corporate speak for, this single player shit ain't working. There was no final game, no farewell message, just a studio with incredible talent. Quietly closed. Years later, Glenn Schofield tried to recapture the magic with Callisto Protocol. It looked like Dead Space, it sounded like Dead Space, it just wasn't Dead Space. Reviews were mixed, sales were disappointing, and by the following year, you could get the game for free on the Epic Marketplace. Seriously, that's how I got the game. Schofield left striking distance in 2023, and at the time of this recording, Michael Condrey, who was once president of the 31st Union, a new studio under 2K, is transitioning to an advisory role to focus on the future of a new project called Project Ethos, which looks to me like a Fortnite clone. Amy Hennig is working on Marvel's 1943, Rise of Hydra, and another untitled Star Wars game, both with Skydance. As for Dead Space, in a weird twist of events, EA did reanimate the franchise under a different studio, EA Motive, and released a remake of the original Dead Space in 2023 to critical acclaim. Fans rejoiced, but Visceral, it never got its second life. So to recap, Visceral Games didn't die because they made bad games per se. They died because they didn't make billion-dollar ones. They were a studio trying to push creative boundaries inside of a company chasing market trends, and in an industry where a single player was once and still is seen as a liability, they paid the price due to corporate oversight and greed. Their story is a reminder, it's not about failure, it's about expectation and what gets lost chasing the next big trend. That's how it ended for Visceral Games. Now, if you made it this far in the video, thank you guys for watching, and if you think I missed anything, drop them in the comments. All the sources would be linked in the video description. Now, with all that said, it's been your boy Cash, and like always, play on, player. Peace.